Loki, the Norse god of mischief. Hermes, the troublemaker of the Greek. Anansi of Akan folktale. Kokopelli of the Native American Southwest. Puck of English folklore, or the Kitsune of Japanese tales. All manifestations of trickery, troublemaking, and misbehavior, and a perfect fit for your Trickery domain cleric.
This is trickery. This is low conniving trickery.
As this trickster, you are an unruly patron of thieves, scoundrels, gamblers, rebels, and liberators. When it comes to clerics, they epitomize irreverence.
If you want to take a beat to acknowledge the sacred atmosphere, it could give the cynical grave robbing a hint of irreverence.
No, I'm good.
All right then, let's loot this corpse.
However, the subclass of the Trickery domain cleric might prove useful to create a completely different flavor of character as well. For we are here to reskin and reflavor the mechanics of this cleric to one that might be more comfortable manipulating space, time, or even simply being a Disney princess. Hello Acolytes, this is the Cleric Corner, and here is another episode of the Better Class series, to pump new blood and ideas into subclasses you may have already played, and can now create something entirely different. So I hope you came prepared to think outside of the box, and just like last time, if you stay to the end, expect something for free to expand on one of these 10 character concepts. But first, the mechanics. Starting with a very flavorful spell list, including Charm Person, Disguise Self, Mirror Image, Pass Without Trace, Blink, Dispel Magic, Dimension Door, Polymorph, Dominate Person, and Modify Memory. Spells that deal with deception, sneaking, slipping away, and removing evidence. Also at first level, you can grant any one person advantage on dexterity checks for an hour. At second level, you can invoke a duplicate of yourself that you can move around and shoot spells out of as if they were in your space, or you were in theirs. At 6th level, you can cloak yourself with invisibility in a moment of need, and at 8th level, you get extra poison damage on your weapon attacks. And then finally, at 17th level, you can create 4 duplicates of yourself instead of just 1.
Did you get all that?
Now that's a lot to play with, but the great thing about spellcasters is that you can prepare a variety of spells to fit your specific flavor of character. But one thing that will of course be a focus on this reflavor is its duplication feature, which you actually might find familiar from another video I did over a year ago. The Echo comes from the flavor of Echo Knight, a critical role created subclass that revolves around the fighter that uses the magic of Dunamancy to summon alternate versions of themselves to the battlefield. Alternate timelines with small variances that eventually fade from the sacred timeline. Very Loki and Marvel Universe kind of vibe. Instead of just creating an illusion of yourself, I know, so boring, you are calling upon an alternate version of yourself or even a past or future version of yourself. You are a walking paradox, but where you have the Time Fighter, you now have the Time Cleric. And if you want a Time Sorcerer, you can also find that one in my Patreon shop. Same deal. I might even get around to creating the rest of them someday. I like the idea of just having a time or a paradox focus of all the classes, but I actually covered the Echo Knight in its own entire video where I covered angels, ancestors, portals, and alternate personalities. But because of the similarities, you can go watch that video after this one and apply the same flavors there to the cleric here. But I wanted to expand even more ideas, so my aim was to make all of these cleric concepts unique, so you can then include them over there as well. Can you tell this is my favorite cleric subclass yet?
I'm obsessed.
It's also really interesting that just after the Echo Knight video, I just hit my 10,000 subscriber mark, and probably right after this one, I'll meet my 20,000 subscriber mark. So hey, woohoo, we all did it, guys. Good job. Now, the split focuses on a specific set of creatures that have an uncanny ability to split themselves into 2. One of the most common are oozes. Very fitting for an ooze-born or a plasmoid race being able to split itself apart and cast spells in 2 different places, much like a symbiote or parasite if you go that direction.
Yes, we are splitting up.
A doppelganger in some iterations can multiply as well for a great changeling race, or you're some sort of creature that sheds its skin? I don't know, go with it. And your dead skin shell kind of acts of its own accord for a time. You also have a displacer beast that makes an illusion of itself, that would be cool. Perhaps you are a unique race of tabaxi based on this six-legged cat. Another option is to be made of construct materials, warforged, made of mud, stone, plants, or even bones or flesh, sloughing off some of themselves to create two smaller parts of themselves. Even be more of a mech or cyborg that takes off a portion of their mechanics to fight separately in a turret-like fashion. And this would also be a great place for your 3 kobolds in a trench coat, or 2 gnomes, or 2 of any assortment of small races you can fit inside a large jacket. And you know the coolest thing about this is even maybe create your own race or creature that has the ability to split. You are free to comment all of your fantastic ideas. The dualism dives into the realm of a single word, duality. Duality being the opposition or contrast between 2 aspects of something. For example, you have wet and cold, light and dark. And to represent that duality, you have yourself and your duplicate, good and evil, happy and sad, summer and winter, outgoing and reserved.
Every version of me.
Perhaps you play your duplicate as the person you wish you could be, or who you view yourself as. For a prideful character, their duplicate could look much more handsome and powerful than they actually are.
I'm just the best version of myself again.
For a more insecure character, their duplicate could be some sort of monster, or even something that they are scared of. It becomes a literal reflection of the character and their progress through the campaign. What they see when they look in a mirror. For more duality, a Fey character might see their Shadowfell counterpart, a Celestial creature might see their Devilish counterpart. A character of Order might see their Chaotic counterpart. You see the picture. Fire, water, earth, sky, I think you get the idea. But when it comes to the projections of the mind, I think we can expand it even further. The manifestation brings in perspective to your duplicate, for they are the manifestations of your dreams, desires, or your fears and emotions. On one hand, your duplicate could be who you imagine yourself becoming. They are what success looks like to you when you complete all of your desired ambitions. As a character, what does that even look like? It's a question that all players should be asking themselves about their characters at the very beginning. This cleric just brings it to the forefront. What is the thing that your character desires the most? That is what their duplicate looks like, and it may not even be themselves. Then, on the other hand, their duplicate might be their greatest fears, manifesting themselves as their mind is projecting that insecurity. A great way to put those roleplay struggles out in the open, where normally they might be in the background. Perhaps it is a suppressed emotion of rage, despair, terror, all of which are so powerful that they take physical form. So when you connect a projector to the subconscious of your character's mind, what appears before them? Perhaps they don't even know. And that is a secret that only the DM can reveal. But I like this subconscious stuff, so let's do one more. The imaginary friend is a more purposeful manifestation of the mind. It is a mental construct created for a purpose, the imaginary friend being one of those possibilities. By the time you're watching this, the movie If is out, and all of a sudden you have a plethora of inspiration for different kinds of imaginary friends. But similarly to a work of imagination is a work of art. Perhaps you paint or graffiti your duplicate into existence, having creative liberties each time you manifest them and peeling a 2D character off from the wall. Perhaps you sing them into existence, either making a duplicate out of the colors of the wind or animating an object creation bard style. Do you have tattoos, photographs, ornate stitchings in your clothes? Watch them leap off their canvas and become your living art. But speaking of art, sometimes what you see or hear is just as important as what you smell. So when you play D&D with all your friends, you may have a super beautiful map, you may have incredible ambience music, but do you have a symphony of smells to immerse you in a dwarven mine? If not, you should definitely level up with Wicked Warlock handmade candles. With smells like Tavern, Elven City, and Dragon's Lair, you have an incredible assortment of scents to fade out all the smell of Doritos and nerd body odor. We've all been there, guys. But I actually have a professional on the scene here, folks, to give you a live react. Someone who, ever since I married, can smell a grain of rice from across the house and tell you exactly how old water is. My wife! Which one do you want to smell first? Who's gonna dip down a little bit further so they can see your reaction?
That's nice.
Ooh,
Tiny.
almost, yeah, Christmassy.
Okay, this one is Dwarven Mine. That was nice too. It's just very earthy.
The swarthy, earthy, sensual worker.
We like earthy things.
We do like earthy things.
And then Tavern is the last one. I smelled this one from like as soon as I opened it, I smelled the waft. It's like caramel.
It is caramely.
Which, so do you have a favorite?
Pine, then this one, then the last one.
Elven
Whatever
City's the
pine.
best one.
In my opinion.
In the professional's opinion. The professional's opinion.
Should I go light it?
Yeah, you should go light it. I didn't bring a...
Well, none of us thought we were going to do that, right?
I didn't bring a lighter.
Okay, so the best part is it has a wooden wick.
Whoa.
Ooh, should we get a little ASMR? Sometimes they have a... What? No. Okay, want to blow it out? Thanks. So there you have it, folks. That was my wife's debut on the channel, actually. So everyone give her a good job in the comments below. And if the product itself isn't enough, you can also get 21% off their best-selling bundles with the link in the description below. Thank you, Wicked Warlock, for sponsoring this video. But now let's leave the arts behind, trade wisdom for intelligence, and use the left side of our brain for a bit more. The Simulacrum comes from a very famous wizard spell that creates a false duplicate of ice and snow. As a 7th level spell, it is very powerful as you create something that essentially acts as its own person with its own spell slots and abilities. So with your intelligence, you have figured out a quicker and easier way to create Simulacrum of yourself, or base it off the 8th level spell Clone, making it literally a quick cloning technology akin to Rick and Morty.
You're just made in my image.
Perhaps do it Artificer style, where you chuck a vial on the floor and the liquid expands and solidifies into a new version of you. Cut off a finger and throw it on the ground, and it regenerates in a similar way. One of my favorite races of D&D, the Riggers, a cephalod-like spelljammer race with glowing halos, have something called a Talarith, a magical object that allows themselves to duplicate themselves. Seems pretty on brand. My wife actually plays a Rigger in our spelljamming home game that we record in a live play. Both the Rigaran race stats and the whole campaign, going on 60 episodes at this point, are available for Patreon members if you wish to check it out or support the channel. What kind of other magical or sciencey shenanigans can you think of? Well, I can think of one more. We talked about the turret as a concept in the Echo Knight video, but that being Marshall, we needed an arcane equivalent. So the Arcane Turret is based off of a certain area in my Baldur's Gate 3 run that took me too many hours and save scums to get through. An area that, in order to get into a tower, you have to walk past arcane cannons that blasted you to the 9 hells if you weren't behind total cover. Needless to say, create your own floating arcane cannon that you can shoot your spells around corners and over rocks. But this single point of power could be a variety of things besides a constructed piece of arcane metal. It could be a mote of divinity or celestial object that embodies your heavenly powers. Perhaps this is a source of your magical power instead of a deity. It could also purely be a magical orb or orb of chaos that you conjure out of the air, and the spells you cast are random effects that spiral out of the enigma. Maybe some sort of planar hole that sucks the magic from another plane that it's connected to. Again, could be coming from you or an item you hold, but items sometimes have more than just magic. They have personalities. Ever pick up a sentient magic item on your adventures? An item that has a soul, or its own personality, or is connected to some other intelligence? We are talking Sword of Caste level stuff. A vampire soul possessing the sword it once wielded, for example. However the item or personality comes about, let's say that you have the ability to pull them out of said weapon or item. You can now pull Cass himself from the sword and use his spirit as a temporary conduit for your magic. This magical item could be someone you don't know, or it could be someone you did. An old mentor that passed on a wand to you, as well as his spirit to guide you. Perhaps you are on an adventure to uncover these items, to collect the souls of certain organization or team, and get back the knowledge that went with them. Were they ancient prophets or powerful mages? Collect them all and see what they would have looked like. But speaking of collecting things, the flock likes one thing: familiars. A rat, raven, cat, or frog, you may have a selection of little fey creatures that you can choose at your command. Very Pokemon-esque as you throw out a duplicate and shout, "I choose you," and your pseudo-dragon with fire on its tail appears to cast your spells. This is also your Disney princess, as with later levels you can summon multiple duplicates at one time, sing a song and coax a wild animal into making a dress, or pulling your carriage. In a more druidic flavor, you could be summoning or animating plants around you. You can even look at other sources of media for familiar ideas. Be a Ratchet to your Clank, or Link to your Navi, or Crash Bandicoot to your Aku Aku, or Spyro to your Sparks, but there are similar iconic pairings within the world of D&D as well. The Minion gives you a taste of the meal all your boss monsters are eating. For example, a very well-known minion of a legendary dragon, or the kobolds that have taken up residence in the caves around their lair. Perhaps you are a dragonborn with a kobold that has been taking a liking to you, giving you a representational dynamic of the bigger thing. Another dynamic could be a kraken and their deep scion slaves. Perhaps you are the kraken priest borrowing one of your patron's grunts. I did a short recently about this. Apparently there are a lot of you who don't know that krakens have slaves, so there you go. But also summon a warg as a goblin race, or a flaming skull or zombie as a necromancer, an intellect devourer as a mind flayer, or imps as a tiefling, or summon fairies as an elf or fae. Perhaps your duplicate is just a swarm of insects or similar flavor to what you would apply to the Swarm Keeper Ranger, or maybe a homunculus, or you may just have a pocket manservant, being a noble or highborn, or you have a domestic servant that you can summon at will, much to their terror when they appear in front of Cthulhu. But you pull them back to wherever they were just as they were about to take damage. And incredibly, there are infinitely more ideas when you combine all of your creativity and imagination. So let me know your machinations in the comments below. But now for the part you've all been waiting for, where we take one of these concepts and say, hey, reflavoring just isn't enough. We need to make an entirely new subclass to really take the concept to the next level. So I will be providing a free subclass in the description below, but first, I need your help deciding which one. So for the first 24 hours this video is up, comment below which concept you want to see. Then I will tally up all the votes, create the new subclass, then attach the new link in the description below. So make sure that you like and subscribe so that you are alerted when I do. Now here is the Eldritch Knight video for those of you who have not watched it, or you can check out other videos in the series here. But for now, go out there and make your worlds a better place. See ya.